Today, I'm going to tell you a shocking and extraordinary story of a bank robbery where the thief neither took anyone hostage nor used any tunnel to escape. Instead, this thief used black magic to rob $240 million from the bank. The most surprising part was that, even after committing such a massive heist, the thief lived a luxurious life and was never caught. This robbery became known as Dubai's biggest and most perfect robbery, which brought a major bank to the verge of closure. The Emirates government even sought help from the US government to catch this thief, but they failed. So, who was this thief? How did he manage such a massive theft? And why was he never caught? This story is truly astonishing and thrilling. The mastermind behind this robbery was Sisco, a resident of Mali, a city in West Africa. The story begins in 1995, when Sisco visited Dubai on a business visa. This was a time when the Dubai government was promoting tourism and encouraging people from around the world to come and do business there. Sisco, fascinated by Dubai's glamour and glitz, got an idea for a scam so unique it would shake the entire Dubai government. To execute this con, one morning, Sisco visited a bank in Dubai called the Dubai Islamic Bank, one of the biggest banks in the city, with branches in every part of Dubai. Since it was morning, all the employees were busy with their tasks. At that time, Sisco walked up to the counter and said he wanted to meet the bank manager, Mohammed Ayub. The employee at the counter kept asking Sisco why he wanted to meet the manager, but Sisco insisted that he would only speak with the manager directly. In Dubai banks, a bank manager holds a high-profile position, and meeting them typically requires a prior appointment. Sisco didn't have one and kept insisting on the meeting. This behavior irritated the employees, but eventually, due to his persistence, a meeting with the manager was arranged for half an hour later. Upon meeting, the manager asked why Sisco wanted to see him. Sisco replied that he wanted a car loan, since a car loan requires a stable job or income source, and Sisco wasn't a resident nor recently employed in Dubai. The manager refused, but Sisco managed to convince the bank manager through his words and got him to agree to process the car loan. After this meeting, Sisco thanked the manager and invited him to dinner at his home. At first, the manager was hesitant, but when Sisco said he would show him something he had never seen in his life, the manager became curious and agreed. This sparked Ayub's interest. What was Sisco going to show him? That night, the bank manager arrived at Sisco's flat for dinner. Sisco welcomed him and after some chit-chat, took him to a dark room filled with smoke and various strange items. Seeing this, the manager got nervous. At that point, Sisco told him something unbelievable. He claimed to be a sorcerer who used jinns to double money, meaning, if he was given money, he could return twice the amount. Ayub listened carefully, and the environment of the room made him question if there might be truth to Sisco's claim. To clear his doubts, he asked a relative to bring him 100,000 dirhams $27,200. Once the money arrived, he handed it over to Sisco, and they both entered the dark and smoky room, which resembled a magician's den. Inside, Sisco sat cross-legged. In the center, took the money, and music started playing. He threw something into the burning coal, and the smoke intensified. Then he began chanting spells and swaying his body. Ayub stood watching all this, when suddenly, the lights went out, and from the next room came a loud scream. A man ran out yelling that a jinn had attacked him. Ayub was stunned, unsure of what to do. Sisco laughed loudly and said this sort of thing happened while dealing with jinns. He claimed the jinn was upset by Ayub's presence and told him to wait outside the flat while the money was being doubled. Ayub stood outside the flat, hearing the music, the banging noises, and seeing smoke coming from under the door. After some time, the sounds and lights stopped. The door opened, and Sisco asked him to come in. Inside, the room was full of smoke. On the table, there was a huge pile of cash. Pointing to it, Sisco said, "Here is your doubled money. You gave me 100,000 dirhams $27,200, and now it's 200,000 dirhams $54,400. Ayub couldn't believe his eyes. He counted the money, and indeed, it was double the amount he had given. After seeing this, the bank manager truly believed that Sisco could double money with magic. He was unaware that at that time, West African con artists were known for such scams, and Sisco had staged the entire show with another accomplice. Now, Ayub began to think that the more money he gave, the more he'd get back. He believed he would. get more money doubled, and because of this, he opened an account for Sisco in the same bank, into which he started transferring money regularly. From here, the story takes a shocking and absurd turn, because even after transferring money continuously, Ayub was not getting any money doubled. Between the year 1995 and 1998, Ayub made a total of 183 transfers into Sisco's account, amounting to $240 million. But this money was never returned to Ayub. Many questions and theories came up during this entire scam that shook Dubai's entire banking system and government. The first question was, if Ayub wasn't getting the money doubled, why did he keep transferring money to Sisco's account for 3 years? Although no solid answer came forward, several people had different theories. Some believed that Sisco wasn't a scammer, but a real magician who had used his black magic to control Ayub, which is why he kept transferring money. Another theory was that the bank manager Ayub was scared of Sisco, thinking that since he was a sorcerer, he might harm him or his family, so he kept transferring money out of fear. The third theory was that Sisco may have blackmailed Ayub after the first transfer, threatening to expose him for making secret transfers without informing anyone. The second question was, how was such a large amount transferred from the bank over 3 years without anyone noticing or suspecting? Even though the bank manager had the authority to make key decisions, how did these massive transfers go unnoticed in routine audits, especially when they were happening over 3 years? Since this happened in 1995, some argued that banking and accounting systems weren't as advanced back then. But this theory doesn't hold up, because the amount involved was too large to be overlooked. After committing the scam, in 1995, Sisco returned to his hometown Moli, where he spent a few months in the village of Debia. Debia was a very poor village, suffering from poverty and hunger. Sisco started distributing food, clothes, and money among the villagers. He also began several projects such as building roads, houses, and water tanks. Thanks to his donations and projects, conditions in Debia improved, and the villagers began to see him as a messiah, respecting and admiring him deeply. After spending a few months in Debia, Sisco decided to move to New York. He wanted to move to New York so that he could open a new account there and transfer money from his Dubai account, allowing him to live a luxurious life. After arriving in New York, Sisco opened an account in Sydney. Using the dazzle of his wealth, he convinced a female bank employee to marry him. Although this employee knew very well that Sisco already had wives in Africa, she was attracted to his immense wealth and agreed to marry him. Sisco was so cunning and clever that he married the bank employee for his own benefit, so that he could use her to transfer all his money from Dubai to his new Citibank account. And that's exactly what happened. Sisco managed to transfer approximately $100 million into his New York account with help from the bank employee, who was now his wife. She personally handled all the transactions, making it easy to move this massive amount from Dubai to the US. In return, Sisco gave her $5 million. Once the money arrived in America, Sisco began living an extremely luxurious life. He started buying everything he had ever dreamed of, from villas to sports cars. He even bought a few second-hand planes and started an airline named Debia Airlines. After his village to start this airline, he purchased 2 second-hand Boeing 77s, each capable of carrying around 180 passengers. Sisco's dream was to make it a huge airline company, but he wasn't getting enough passengers, and the planes were often just parked at the airport. Eventually, this forced him to shut down the airline. Meanwhile, bank manager Ayub continued to transfer money into Sisco's account. Then came July 1996, the year when Sisco was finally caught by American police. But using his money and influence, he managed to escape even here. In 1996, Sisco submitted a request to purchase 2 old helicopters from the US military. When asked why he needed the helicopters, he said he wanted to use them as air ambulances to transport sick and injured villagers in Mali. But the US government rejected his request, suspecting that Sisco was lying and might use the helicopters for drug or arms trafficking, which could damage the US military's reputation. In response, Sisco tried to bribe a US military officer with $100,000, but this move backfired badly. Unfortunately for Sisco, that officer turned out to be honest and reported the bribe to his superiors. Soon after, a warrant was issued for Sisco's arrest, and police began searching for him. Since Sisco was not in the US at the time, the US government issued an international arrest warrant. A few days later, Sisco was arrested in Geneva, Switzerland, and imprisoned there. After his arrest, the Swiss government prepared to hand him over to the US. Meanwhile, Sisco hired an American lawyer named Thomas Spencer to fight his case. Sisco asked Thomas to meet him in the Geneva prison so they could discuss the legal details. After reaching Geneva, Thomas met Sisco in prison and they discussed the case and legal procedures. Just a few days later, Sisco was deported from Switzerland to the US. He was now in Miami, Florida, where the trial for the bribery case was about to begin. Sisco's lawyer Thomas first tried to get Sisco out on bail, so he wouldn't have to stay in jail during the trial. However, the opposing lawyer strongly opposed bail, arguing that if Sisco were released, he would flee the country. But through his money and connections, Sisco managed to secure bail. During the hearing, Sisco's lawyer played a powerful card. He brought in politicians and powerful figures to testify in Sisco's favor. People Sisco had built connections with using his money. These influential individuals testified that Sisco was he is a respectable man, and after getting bail, he will not flee the US. The judge, too, had never seen so many politicians in court together. Meanwhile, Sisco's legal team tells the judge that Sisco is ready to pay a high bail amount to prove that he won't run away and will stay for trial. On the other hand, the opposition lawyers' team kept pressing the judge not to grant bail. The pressure on the judge to make a decision began to rise. Then, the judge decided that he would set a bail amount so high that it would be the highest ever in Florida court history. While delivering the verdict, the judge said that Sisco would have to pay $20 million for bail. Everyone in the courtroom was shocked upon hearing this. The judge assumed Sisco wouldn't be able to pay such a huge amount and hence wouldn't get bail. But the most shocking part was that Sisco agreed to pay this bail amount. After being released on bail, the first thing Sisco did was gift a car to each member of his lawyer Thomas's team. Thomas was astonished, as it was the first time any client had gifted them such expensive cars, and that too before the trial was over. During this time, Sisco resumed his lavish lifestyle. Those who lived with him said Sisco would walk into a jewelry shop and spend up to $100,000 in one go. Some car showroom owners claimed Sisco was buying 4 to 5 cars every month. He even got married more than 10 times in Miami, buying a separate apartment for each wife. Meanwhile, bank manager Ayub continued to transfer money into Sisco's account. He also issued multiple credit cards in Sisco's name, with no spending limit. Ayub would cancel all transaction records from these credit cards, so no one would know how much money had been spent. Why Ayub was doing all this remained a question. Was he under some black magic, or was he being threatened? This question remained a mystery. On the other hand, before his trial, Sisco felt the need to improve his public image so that he could gain public support and sympathy, which might help him in court. So, he started helping the poor and homeless people on the streets of Miami, giving them food, clothes, and money as per their needs. This was picked up by the media, and Sisco's image in Miami started to improve. In March 1997, the bribery case hearing began. Sisco's lawyer advised him to deny all charges in court, but Sisco ignored his lawyer's advice and admitted his crime in court. He confessed to offering a bribe to a US military officer. This confession shocked both his lawyer and the entire legal team. Thomas asked him why he did it, but Sisco gave no answer. There was a big reason behind this confession. If Sisco had denied the charge, it would have led to a long trial, which could result in further investigation into his past, especially the Dubai bank fraud, which could have created a massive and serious legal problem for him. After this confession, the court sentenced Sisco to 43 days in prison, along with a fine of $100,000. He was then sent to a federal prison in Florida. After serving 22 days, the court offered him a deal. Sisco would donate money to the government to buy houses for the homeless, and in return, he could serve the rest of his sentence under house arrest. Sisco immediately agreed to the deal and donated $1 million to the government. He was then placed under house arrest in his own home, where he completed the rest of his sentence. After completing his sentence, Sisco left the US and returned to his hometown in Mali, where the villagers welcomed him with great celebration. By now, it was 1998, and bank manager Ayub was still transferring money into Sisco's account. But Sisco never tried to save this money. He either spent it on his own luxuries or used it for the welfare of his village and its people. While the villagers saw him as a messiah, the people of Miami began calling him Robin Hood because he had helped many during his trial, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. During the same time in 1998, a major audit was launched at Dubai Islamic Bank, and accountants from England were brought in to investigate. They began reviewing transactions from the last 5 years and discovered that millions of dollars were missing, with no records or entries. Meanwhile, bank manager Ayoub had already told his colleague how he had transferred millions into the account of a man named Sisco, believing he was a magician who would double the money, but never received a single dollar in return. When asked how much he had transferred, Ayoub couldn't bring himself to say it aloud and instead wrote the figure on paper, $890 million, which is approximately $240 million. Upon seeing this, his colleague was shocked, fearing the bank might collapse. As the news spread, the bank's customers began protesting outside, demanding their deposits back. Seeing the crisis and rising protest, the Dubai government decided to intervene. The next day, Dubai newspapers reported that everything was under control and that the safety of depositors' money was now the responsibility of the Dubai government and central bank. The report also stated that an investigation was underway and that bank manager Ayoub had been arrested. Since it was a private bank, most of the losses were covered by the bank owners, while the remaining losses were covered by the Dubai government in return. They acquired a large stake in the bank. During the investigation, Sisco's New York Citibank account was discovered. Dubai Islamic Bank filed a lawsuit against Citibank, accusing them of money laundering by accepting such large transfers. They demanded $51 million in damages. The investigation agency hired by Dubai Islamic Bank in the US discovered that bank manager Ayoub didn't benefit personally from the scam. All the money had gone into Sisco's account, and he was assisted by a bank employee who was also his wife. Upon learning this, Interpol issued an international arrest warrant for Sisco. This meant that if he traveled anywhere, he would be arrested. But Sisco knew very well that Mali had no extradition treaty with any country, which meant no other country could bring a wanted criminal back from Mali. This is why Sisco continued to live in Mali. To protect himself further, he made another move in 2002. He bought a ticket to contest in the parliamentary elections. Since the people already saw him as a messiah, he easily won and became a member of Mali's parliament. However, in the following years, Sisco's wealth drastically declined, as he had lavishly spent everything, and he was no longer able to help the people. His popularity faded, and in the 2014 elections, Sisco lost. After his defeat, he returned to his village Debia, where he spent the rest of his life. In 2018, a BBC reporter managed to reach Sisco and convinced him to give an interview. This was the only interview he ever gave, and he made several revelations. Sisco revealed that at one point, he had immense wealth, approximately $240 million. When the reporter asked about the money, Sisco replied that he had spent all of it. When asked about Dubai Islamic Bank, Sisco said his only interaction with the bank manager was regarding a car loan, nothing more. When the reporter questioned him about the $240 million and black magic, Sisco laughed loudly and said, "Nothing like that ever happened. If I could double money through magic, why would I need to rob a bank?" He also said that the investigation team should ask the bank employee where all that money actually went. In the end, bank manager Ayoub, the bank employee Sisco's wife, and others involved in executing the transfers were sent to jail, and the question remained unanswered. Why did Ayoub keep transferring money into Sisco's account for 3 years when he didn't receive even a single dollar in return? Despite pulling off one of the biggest scams, Sisco lived his entire life freely in his village Debia and passed away in 2021. Let us know in the comments what you think of this story. This is just the beginning. The real stories are yet to come. If you want more such unbelievable tales, don't forget to subscribe to The Unique. See you in the next video.